All. This is Dr. Mobeen Sayed from drbeen.com. Welcome to one more show. So today we have a very important guest with us. We have Dr. Nader Pourhassan from CytoDyn. He is the director, CEO, and I believe founder as well of CytoDyn. Today we would discuss the phase 3 trial results, press release that they have, and the data that is in there. Hopefully in the coming days we'll have more data as well. We'll ask all about that from Dr. Pourhassan over here. So Dr. Pourhassan, welcome, and thank you very much for coming back to our show.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Mobeen. It's an honor to be at your show at any time.
Thank you very much. And because these videos, these talks that we do, they end up on our site as well, and our site is for CMEs and CEs as well. So it is important for me to disclose the conflict of interest. So here, we do not have any conflict of interest. I do not own any shares of CytoDyn. There is no other financial associations with me or Dr. Bean with CytoDyn as a company or individually. There is no such relationship other than having Dr. Pourhassan with us and to be able to listen more about Leronlimab. So with that disclosure, once again, welcome everyone from the Cool Beans as well. There are so many questions on Twitter too, and you may be able to see that there are lots of people here as well. So why not we start with this? So there is a press release from CytoDyn about the Leronlimab phase 3. Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, it has been fantastic ride with CytoDyn in COVID-19, something that we got involved in because of Dr. Sidham Raju saying that there is a potential. Before that, Dr. Scott Kelly telling me you should look at this. The results that we just put out, we've been waiting a year and a half or something for these results. They are the best results that I know about in this critical population, which is called severe to critical. Now, the first press release, there's two that went out. Just one went out 10 minutes, 15 minutes ago before the show starts, so I can talk about it. The first one that went out spoke about critical population of COVID-19. Now, we didn't say anything about severe. Why? Because we saw a great, in our opinion, great potential of efficacy. And we said we're going to talk about what we have and what we're going to do, which is we have a signal in critical population. We're going to go to the FDA and MHRA and everywhere, Health Canada, and talk about getting emergency use authorization for critical population. So now the second press release also talks about the rest of the patient. So this is a historical moment for CytoDyn. Make no mistake, in my opinion, about it, because we waited for this. And Samantha Moti, thanks to this person for first breaking the news in the public that under emergency IND at UCLA with Dr. Otto Yang, her life was saved, according to her. And when she came out, there was a lot of bashing of her and people like that. And we had a lot of testimony. But now we just verified that, yes, we saved mortality in critical population, 24%. This is 24 out of 100 patients could be saved per this results. And we are going forward. Now, the results were only the result that was in the first press release was talking about that portion only. Now, what happened to the rest of it, we could get to that also. But if you like me, I can continue with that, or however you want to continue.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to make sure that the Cool Beans can go and find it. So am I navigating to the site right place? So this is CytoDyn.
That's correct.
There is the newsroom at the top.
That's right.
And there is this press releases. And if you click on that,
and then you the second one, the one that says CytoDyn. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go down one more. Go down. No, right there. Yes, CytoDyn phase 3 trial safety, a 24% reduction in mortality. You click on that, that's what it is. So what this says is, and if you look at the title, it's talking about 24% was a very large number. The safety, we demonstrated the safety for this population. We didn't see any difference between Leronlimab versus placebo. And we said, this is the population we want to go after, mechanical ventilated patients who are in ICU. So the results talk about, in that population, we also saw that this patient got off of the ventilator and ICU at a rate that was statistically significant. 0.005 was the p-value.
Wow,
Now,
so that was my question actually, because
yeah,
I did not see the p-value here, and I wanted to ask you that what was the p-value. So 0.005 is a pretty decent,
yes,
pretty good p-value.
that's correct. And that's what we're going to do for the next stage, where we want to get more patients to come into this trial. So we want to make the primary endpoint to be that. And that's what we just announced in the latest press release, that we're going to bring another 140 patients, and the primary endpoint now going to be discharged from the hospital. And that would be, if it repeats to be 6 days, then we have a very good chance, we think, to hit a primary endpoint with a highly probable situation. So
Excellent. So what I'm seeing here, and for the cool beans, I'm sure that you may have seen this as well. So survival benefit, there was 24% reduction in all-cause mortality. That was a primary endpoint. And then there is the versus the placebo, and then the shortened time to recovery. The average
correct.
length of hospital stay was reduced by 6 days for patients who received leronlimab with commonly used COVID-19 treatment. So tell me this, were they getting remdesivirs and dexamethasons as well? Of course, they were in ICU. I'm sure that they were.
So when they go to ICU, pre-specified in the protocol, we said that if they're taking commonly used product for COVID-19 was remdesivir, hydroxychloroquine, tocilizumab, every product that people can use right now just because they're desperate at that time. And as we saw, same thing with Samantha Motit, said the doctor, her doctor, Dr. Otto Yang, says nothing worked. And then they give him leronlimab, and she was able to be saved. That was anecdotal. We're not referring to that as for approval, but this is not anecdotal to us. And we want to show a signal of efficacy and show that product is safe. These two is what needed when you have pandemic or when you have rare disease.
Got it. So can I ask you a question here? This may sound hard, but please tell me. For the second point here, shortened time to recovery, the p-value is given 0.005.
Right.
But for the first one, there was 24% reduction. P-value is not written. Is that a different value?
No, we didn't want to talk about p-values that were not statistically significant till we explain why we're not talking, why are we not saying the p-value for all of them. It would be misleading to me to say a p-value, let's just say 0.1 or 0.08, and say we missed it when there is so much benefit for the mortality. And there's a reason, we believe, why the p-value wasn't highly statistically significant the way it was for the length of stay. And we explained that in our second press release that just went out 10 minutes ago. And I can talk about that.
I see. So can I actually open up that as well? Is that on
Absolutely.
the website?
Yep. If you go to press release, just click on the first one that just came out.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
Sorry,
great.
cool beans. I just want to make sure that we dig a little deeper in it so that when we are having our discussion and you have your questions, we are in the right track.
Yep.
So, Dr. Pourhassan, where should I?
Go down. Okay, right there. CytoDyn is pleased to show strong data for critical ill COVID-19 patient, considering the fact. Now, here's the fact that we wanted to say before we give our p-value. Now we're giving the p-value, and we were very proud of it. A higher proportion of patients over 65 were enrolled in leronlimab arm. Now, what does that mean? That means when we did randomize, instead of having 2-to-1, over 65 was 3-to-1. Well, almost 80% of deaths happen over 65. So we got, bad luck, the stratification. Now, the FDA has allows for adjusting. So we adjusted for that. When we adjust for that, now here's our primary endpoint that everybody wants to know. There are 3 things that we have to talk about. Modified intended to treat. Why modified? Why not just intended to treat? Because intended to treat was 394. Modified intended to treat was 384. Those 10 patients signed consent, but they did not get enrolled. So you don't have leronlimab or placebo. So they're not evaluable. These are in a SAP, statistical analysis plan, before we unblind. Then, so now we got 384. What happened over there? The 384, 309 of them took the commonly used COVID-19 treatment that we listed it in the protocol. Those patients who took those, P-value was 0.0319, primary endpoint of 28 days mortality was hit.
Wow. So let me wrap my head around this for a second. So what I'm hearing is this, that in the Leronlimab arm, they were, from an age point of view, there were more people with 65 years and above age. In the placebo arm, that was not the case, 23%. So what you did was you age stratified them, you age equalized them, and or age adjusted them. And after the adjustment, when you redid your analysis, the p-value is actually significant.
So it's significant only for 309 patients that took commonly used COVID-19. I want to be very clear because we're going to get to the point that we did not get p-value. I want to say that, I want to talk about that also. So the second part of this is statistically significant 0.05, two significant figure will give us 0.05 here. 0.0552 is exact, so 0.05. When we look at the patients who took dexamethasone with leronlimab or took dexamethasone alone, we had a statistically significant, and the mortality saved was around 30%. Same thing with the previous one, 30% or so. So we have a very large relative saving of lives. Now, with the number 3, we did not have a p-value. It was getting much closer to 0.05, and we did the adjustment that we're allowed to do. And that showed that below 65, we had 30% of the patients saved mortality, less versus placebo. And then with over 65 was 9%. Obviously, over 65, we know that most of the death happened there and the adjustment needed to be made there. So we met with MHRA. We met with Health Canada, and we wanted to make sure we have all of these pieces together when we go out there, because we know how everybody would like to know all the detail, and we want to tell the story exactly what it is. MHRA says we will give you accelerated rolling review, send us your CMC, send us your non-clinical section, and then the critical portion, the critical ill patients. They said, we will accept extension patient on your CD12. We'll accept you extended. But we said, well, we're doing 140 patients that we don't have clarity from FDA yet. Once we get it, we can start. They said, we will even look at interim analysis. Just give us, there is a law here. You have to have p-value 0.05. If you don't, they won't be able to get approval. The 2 sections that I just read to you were subpopulation. So you can't use those for approval, and FDA justifiably, correctly, is saying, give us more data in critical population. Your sites are set just quickly. When we told them we're going to give you synopsis of the protocol, they said, no, give us the whole protocol, let's go. So we did, and MHRA, so we have a very beautiful thing right here with MHRA. We're going forward with what I just said, and it's in the press release. Health Canada, they said there is an interim order, which is same as emergency use authorization. You need to file that. We're giving you green light to file it. And when you file that, in the guidelines we read, and we are trying to verify right now, that we might be able to sell leronlimab while we do a clinical trial in Canada also to generate more data. The commitment of doing this trial that we're doing, open a site over there also will allow us to be able to sell. So that's, we haven't verified it that we could sell. We're doing that right now, but that's a very strong position. Then we come to FDA. If we do 140 patients, how long would it take? People have so much expectation that, hey, get this done in 2 months. This is biotech. We just did a trial, phase 3, from beginning to the end, but in a year. But having said that, we have 140 patients. I asked our people who went and enrolled sometimes 20 patients a day at the end of the trial. If people remember, we enrolled 150 or 190 patients very quickly. We surprised everybody. the pandemic is going down. It's not, the critical population is not the same as before. So 2,000, 3,000 deaths per day, thank God, it's going down to 1,000. But we're going to go to this site and say, now we have, randomized trial. This will put us in the first place. So we asked our person who did a fantastic job, Brian Broughton and Dr. Kush Doty and Dr. Scott Kelly were working on this, and especially the Brian Broughton. We asked him. He said, well, probably 4 weeks. Maybe I can do it in 3 weeks. So let's see. So if it's going to take the company even 3 months, let's just throw numbers in there, 3 months to get this done. We're not going to wait a couple of months after it's done to do anything. 28 days from the last patient, you can give the data. If the p-value is met, you give it to them immediately. This trial had problems. As I said, it was 3-to-1 instead of 2-to-1. We had to figure out a lot of things. So if we give that to them, we get emergency use authorization and we can file BLA for final approval. This would be a fantastic result. What is the difference between us doing this or filing BLA for HIV? Well, filing BLA for HIV, which we hope to do very soon also, will take 6 months at the best for the review. This is not. This is wonderful opportunity for us, and I'm ecstatic and very excited about it.
Got it. So just to recap for the cool beans here, give me just one quick second. I want to share my screen once more. So cool beans, there are 2 press releases here. There is one press release, which is earlier, I think it's on 5th. And if you see here, here are the numbers. And in these numbers, the survival benefit, the primary endpoint, does not show a p-value. And for that, if you then go to the second press release, in this press release, there is an age adjustment. And then based on that, there is further clarity and there are certain p-values that are useful. So I just wanted to make sure that you kind of look at it. My normal way of presenting some study is to actually go through the data and draw it up and show it. My apologies, I could not do that today in a timely way, but I wanted to kind of have this discussion with Dr. Pourhassan as well. So with this, Dr. Pourhassan, before we continue, I want to have questions from the cool beans, but I have a question of my own.
Yes.
That is that I was hearing that there is some lawsuit that is going on. Do you want to talk about that? You want to tell us more about that?
Absolutely. But before I give the lawsuit, I'm a little bit excited about the results. So let me just give one more thing that just came to my mind and I'll get to the lawsuit. So I said age adjustment, right? And I said that 24% mortality was better in Leronlimab versus placebo. If that age adjustment was allowed to be done for that population, which is not, so we haven't done it. We didn't present it as that. But if we did, we would have had 40% better mortality. And we can't use that number because it's not, that adjustment is not allowed. But let's go to the lawsuit. So in 2012, I was appointed as the CEO of CytoDyn. As I raised funds for this company, and I try to sacrifice whatever I can, whatever, thank God I was able to raise funds, almost $400 million now. And I was going through a very difficult time because of the board members. They saw things different than me. God bless them. They also helped to get me to the right place at some times, but sometimes it wasn't working very well. When we didn't see eye to eye, they thought we should never touch anything but HIV and things got collapsed. They had to step down. When they left, the board says Nader hasn't got anything close to the normal CEO. The stock jumped and things started rolling. We saved the company so many times when the stock was at 25 cents with very little dilution. The numbers I keep always telling everybody, and everybody says, stop being egoistic, shut up and just do your job. And I said, okay, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, whatever it was. But the board member says, well, what is it that you propose? I said, well, you guys got to do what is right by me and everybody else. So when I proposed the shares to be given to myself, I suggested to the compensation committee. I also said I will not take any shares unless you give it to the board member who heroically save this company. Some of the board members in the past wanted to sell the company at 20 cents a share. People don't know that. All of these stories will come out at one time. But anyway, I said, I will not accept it. And they said, well, we can give you even more, but we can't give it to a board member. I said, well, don't give it to anybody. So they agreed to give it to everybody. Now the lawsuit came from these board members who are not happy with us, I guess, even though their shares that they own, some of them have 10 million shares. At 30 cents was 3 million. At $4 is 40 million right now. And if at $10 was 100 million, but they're not happy with me still. So they brought a lawsuit, and the attorney said, Nader, please, just, we know you sacrificed a lot, but just give up these shares and let everybody just give up shares and just let it go for the good of the company. You have done always this. I said, yeah, but the statement says that we self-served ourselves and give shares to ourselves, and I did things like that. So the bidding continues, and I'm taking the bidding for the good of the shareholders, and I accepted it. At one time I said, maybe I won't accept that, maybe I just step down and finish. But then I thought all these shareholders who trusted me, I owe it to them. And my wife, who's got me into this company, says, absolutely not. You're gonna do what is gonna make you happy, because once this product is out there, all these stories will be told, and hopefully people see that you were a good person throughout this. And if I have been, then thank God, and hopefully we'll know more about it in future.
Got it. Thank you very much. So in the comments, as usual, I am seeing a lot of folks who are upset. I'm seeing a lot of folks who are happy. So question for you. One of the question I just saw was, and if you're okay, I'm going to start asking those questions.
Please, absolutely.
So one of the question here is from the Nasdaq, so uplisting. I remember that when we had that discussion before as well, you were talking about it. Where do we stand with that?
So, we have a practice of updating everybody what happens. When Nasdaq says 2 more weeks, we get back with you and we think maybe we have something, then we tell the public. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe I should go quiet like I have in the last several weeks, and some people didn't like it. I am going to be vocal, and I will be trying to do shareholder conference call every week from now on, until we get approval. Now, that's my goal. If the attorneys allow me, I'm going to run it by them. I will. Maybe it's every other week, but that's not my goal, because I want to know, everybody know exactly what's happening with this company, 100% clarity. Now, in Nasdaq situation, Mike Mulholland, he's this type of CFO that I never seen in my life. This man works like nobody else. If you want to replace Michael Mulholland, you have to bring 10 CFOs. Now, maybe people think I'm exaggerating, but that's not it. He did a fantastic job with his group, and they got the application ready. Now, Nasdaq has a rule, just like FDA has a rule, that you need to have 1.5 year cash right up front. If you don't, you have to have other things in place. So we don't have 1.5 years, especially now that we're saying we want to make a lot more product. That means you need 100 million or 150 million, because you want to make a lot of product. You want to make $3 billion worth of product. It costs us at least 150 million. Because we don't want to dilute shareholders. We don't want to just go to a bank and give them a sweet deal and get that money. We're doing other things. Those other things means we have to show that we have emergency use authorization or approval, and we have revenue going to come in. That will take care of it. Other things we have taken care of. So with Nasdaq, we're getting close to that. We are getting close to getting emergency use authorization, hopefully, God willing. And if that happens, then that opens the door. So waiting a little bit, not to dilute the shareholder. These shares belong to shareholders. I don't have the right to give it and make my life easy by just bringing a lot of money. I made my life hell for 8 years, bringing the money a little bit at a time, per the instruction of Jordan Nader and Scott Kelly from the board. So just keep up the work, and I keep working. And thanks to Paulson for being part of this in a great way. They supported, and we raised 400 million. I raised about 200 some million by myself, and 100 and so many million by the bankers. So we saved 10% of that 260 to 230 or whatever it was that would have gone to the bankers. So they should. I'm hoping shareholders feel like, okay, this guy can raise money, and this guy is doing it in the right way. We could have been diluted 400-500 million more shares. We had an offer of 500 million shares to get $30 million when the stock was at 25 cents. We didn't take it and people were upset. So we get the money and then hopefully I think we get an emergency use authorization and hopefully go up to Nasdaq.
So tell us a little more about the EUA. So are you getting closer to it, or there is yet more process or more trial to be done?
Yeah.
I am seeing comments here. For example, here they're saying that EUA is not happening. Then there are folks who are saying EUA is happening in 2 weeks. So what is your take on it?
So let's put the past into use and see what did we say and what did happen with this company. So it was in March of last year, so a year ago, we said that we think there might be potential of COVID-19 for Leronlimab. We didn't stop anything with our company. Cancer stuff is going forward. Day after tomorrow, we will read some more stuff about the results of cancer that has been great. And NASH is going forward great. All of this going forward in a great way. But what we've done is we said we wanted to get COVID-19. CD10 came up and people recovered in 3 days. So we couldn't see anything that was great. We saw something that was positive, and within 3 days, we had good results of 90% recovery versus 70% and so forth. But that wasn't enough. The FDA said no. I told everybody, FDA said don't even come here. No emergency use authorization will be given, and that will correct. But we learned from that. But while we were doing that, we also had already started this trial. And at the time we started the trial, we had no idea about pandemic, how it is. No scientist knew all the details that they know now. So the power of study that you don't know a lot is very difficult. We did that. And we came up with this, so like, I think Genentech did 7 studies, 7,000 patients to get to the point where they got rejected. But, or maybe I'm wrong, somebody else was, but we will talk about this in specific to day after tomorrow. But we did 1 study, and now we're at the position that when we met with the regulatories, FDA was very gracious to us, I believe. They said, continue your emergency INDs, continue with open label in CD12, and immediately give us a protocol and we work with you. They offered to help us to design it, whatever we want, to meet with us if they have to. So we immediately gave it to them. That's about a week ago. And we hope to get something back from them Monday or Tuesday and finalize and start. So to be in this position, the FDA is asking for maybe they will agree with 140. Then you want to hit a primary endpoint of time to discharge, which we already have 0.005. What am I missing here? Who's watching this right now and being upset? Please give me your reasoning so I can be enlightened by you. Because if you have a 0.005 in time to discharge, and now we're saying we're going to do that as a primary endpoint with 140 more patients, and we could enroll within 4 weeks or so. This is like dream come true. I don't know if they're not happy. I'm sorry, but when we get emergency use authorization, God willing, then we can all celebrate. Perhaps one of these days we can celebrate about that. But it was a long road, but usually take 10 years to get approval. We got 1 year, and this is what we done. Here's our resume. CD10 was finished, CD12 got done, and now we have the buy-in of 3 agencies to go ahead. Now, we do have Philippines and Brazil. Brazil is doing terrible, and we are going to immediately see what we can do with it. And if any other country maybe want to come in and say, hey, we will see the results, we like it, let's do it, let's sell Leronlimab. Now we will go forward. Every day is important now.
Got it.
Every day you might see something from us.
So I think the pulse that I'm getting from the cool beans here is that they're really chomping at the bit for the EUA. So then there's a question here: can FDA use the same criteria as remdesivir to approval? So what is the hurdle in EUA? Still more?
So when a person goes to a red light and there's no car coming, should they just pass the red light? Because, I mean, there's no car coming. You can't break the law. FDA people have a rule and regulation. They have to check the box. P-value 0.05. You didn't get it. What can we do? Did they tell us, go away, you're not good with it? No. They said, give us critical population, more patients with a p-value 0.05. Then we can give you EUA and file BLA for approval. So this is
Let's ask you another question then. Got it.
Yeah.
Long haulers.
Mhm.
Can you discuss? So there's a question about the Leronlimab long hauler trial. Is that happening?
Absolutely, Dr. Chris Reckner, we can't thank him enough. Work with Dr. Scott Kelly diligently and Dr. Mahbub Rahman doing fantastic. And as always, Amarex is incredible force for us. We have our first patient who will be injecting. I believe we injected on Friday or Thursday. I'm not sure, but probably next week, and we will announce it immediately. Now, please note, when the first patient get injected, within 2 or 3 weeks, we will inject all 50 patients that we are going to inject, because there's about 100 or some patients already waiting. So we had to go through a lot of problems, laboratories, all the normal problems biotechs have, and we solved them and we're ready to go. And also NASH. NASH is now, I don't know, 20, 25 patients already, and Dr. Scott Kelly will update everybody on Monday on that too.
So then, so here is a question from Ian. Why have we not sold the 200K vials to the Philippines as we reported weeks ago?
So we said we could have a compassionate special permit, which the Cairo Pharmaceutical told us that's what they have. Since then, they wanted to get EUA. So when they went to file the EUA, they ruled the presidential order that was said that you can get EUA even if you had emergency IND approval, which we had, was changed. They told us that's changed. You have to have EUA. Now, when the results came out, we had them, we sent it to them, this result. Now they are saying that they want to make a decision. If they make a decision that they have EUA, then we can sell. But we did not sell any because the compassionate special protocol, we have not signed an agreement with Cairo, and Cairo didn't push us to sign it, and we didn't go. We were too busy to get all of this done. So we will be able to sell product very soon, in my opinion. But everybody just watch very carefully. Now we're in a very, very exciting time, in my opinion.
Excellent. So let's do this while we have some live questions here as well. I'm going to ask some questions from the Twitter as well. So here, Cindy Glasgow says, did the ventilator patient start out as severe, not ventilated? If so, isn't that a significant indication that leronlimab decreases the progression quickly? So I don't know if you have that data or not.
So I can answer that. When I said that 309 patients, the mortality was saved, I don't know, 30, 35%, but the p-value was also there. That's primary endpoint, death at 28 days. That means we did help severe patients that took the available treatment with a statistically significant p, but that p-value will not get you EUA because it was done as a subgroup of 309 and not the full MIT. But so yes, we believe we do. Let me give you another data that we put in the press release, and I don't know if people pay attention. Patients who were score of ordinal scale 2, now 7 number for ordinal scale, 1 means death, 2 means invasive mechanical ventilator and ICU intubated. When they were on 2, 166% more patients walk out versus placebo. Now, if that's not impressive, I mean, I couldn't sleep when I heard that. I was so excited, but that's exciting to me.
Next question. So I'm going to do a quick marathon on these questions so that Twitter usually have a lots of questions and we sometimes get very delayed. So Drew Hilton says, would he entertain a buyout if the price was right? Have they been approached?
If we are approached, you, the shareholder, will make that decision. Me, I already said what I have to say about the stock price. I already said what I said about what I believe. So I'm not, I would vote against that if the price is not right. Obviously, if the price is what I have indicated before, then maybe people should look at it.
Got it. Cool. So then continuing on, Rotolando says, have there been further discussion with the Philippines since the presentation for a week? So you just talked about that. Were the results release of all critical patients or just a subset of the patients? So
all critical patients who were ventilator ICU were calculated. This was pre-specified. This was not something post hoc. This was pre-specified analysis. So we're very proud of that.
Got it. Next question is from austere religious scholar and patriot encourager. How effective does he believe you, perhaps doing PC modeling testing already, will their product be against variants? So the new variants that are showing up, would Leronlimab continue to work for those as well?
So our scientists believe absolutely yes. Now keep in mind, the virus, there are monoclonal antibody like Regeneron that binds to that. We don't bind to the virus. We correct the immune system. We are immune modulator. So we believe we have indication in NASH, in long hauler, in MS, HIV, and all of that. We had our primary endpoint in HIV, and we are trying to get approval. But in regards to this virus, the governance, according to our scientists, I'm not knowledgeable about the science of it. According to our scientists, who are very well scientists, they believe that we do have effect on that.
Got it. And I understand this. So cool beans, any drug that is on the immune system cell side will not be affected by the virus. Any drug that works directly with the virus or with the spike protein could be affected.
Yeah.
Okay, Cindy Glasgow says, oh, that sounds great. Based on the recent information, it seems approximately 500 lives are lost every day that EUA or full FDA approval is held up. Is this correct? How can approval be expedited? I think this is a very common theme that what I'm seeing in the cool beans, at least those that are being here, that the frustration seems to be that the EUA is somehow not progressing.
Yeah, see, that's what people need to please understand. When you go and give a product to the patient population and you have some kind of results, anecdotal, like emergency IND, FDA is not even going to look at that justifiably. If they do look at that, they are not doing their job right. They want randomized trial to make sure it didn't happen by chance. And if they just get crazy, there's going to be a lot of product that's going to kill people more than the COVID-19 will. There has to be a lot of analysis done. How does this product reacts with other approved drug or commonly used drug? How does it react when patient has maybe diabetes or has this or has that? All of these analysis has to be done, and we have done those. We have done tremendous amount of work, and now we're at the point where the agency is saying, yes, give us few more patients of critical population and go for it. And also Health Canada was impressed with the severe population too. They said there might be signal there, so yes, you can file your IO for severe. Obviously, they will want more patients with a p-value 0.05. So we could go for both populations.
Got it. So just a quick funny thing here. 702 Prep said, can't wait till my friends ask me, what did I do Saturday night? And I'll tell them I listened to two Indian guys on YouTube talking about stuff I have no clue about. So here is another issue with your messaging. I am not from India. I do not know about Dr. Pourhassan, but I'm not from India. So there may be some further adjustment to your message. All right, I'm going to continue. I want to make sure that we can go through the... So Cindy has a question here. If Dr. Bean gets COVID again, can we work something out quickly for him? Like no messaging around the next time. Thank you. Messing around. So Cindy, I still believe I didn't have COVID, but still, yes, if I get reinfected by COVID, or if I get infected for the first time by COVID, we will not mess around. I did some experiment yesterday with the anti-inflammatories. Today I was behaving better.
Beautiful.
So continuing. So there was a small scare last week that I had respiratory symptoms. So half of my cool bean doctors thought I have COVID, other half thought I did not. Same is the case here with the cool beans as well, that some said that I had it and some said I didn't. All right, so continuing on, Eric said, so Cindy, thank you. The mortality improvement was 24%. How many critical patients were each arm of the trial? I think we talked about it. John Bream says, Dr. Bean, how many patients are still admitted? Were patients maintained in 2-to-1 ratio? Were there any demographic differences? I think that is what we talked about as well. Yeah. What was the p-value? We talked about that. Will CytoDyn sell without FDA approval to other countries? When I think this is the question number 4 is interesting and 5 is interesting. So will you sell to other countries without getting FDA approval here in the US? And when is the data going to be published?
So absolutely, the data, first of all, we are hoping to have a letter sent to the journal, top journal, immediately. These results have to be published very quickly. We have put a whole team. I don't know, the team that we hire for this kind of thing is about 10 or 12 people in that team, all PhD, very well they are very well knowledgeable about the writing the manuscript. So they're jumping on that. Everybody's working on that. But in regards to would we sell to other countries? Absolutely. We are working right now, and we are getting very close to some situation that we are, this results came out about Friday. And by the way, some people are asking me, why did you put it Friday? Was it was it a magic number that we for magic day to put it out? We put it out Friday because we love our shareholders, and they were waiting desperately by emailing me, please, please, please. So we put it out as soon as we get it. I didn't let it wait another day. And then we put the second one. And we're going to continue having, like I said, hopefully, if the attorneys let me, shareholder conference call every week till we get EUA, till we have approval, God willing.
So I think this is a similar question from her, Mike. When are we likely to get the first approval to sell a product somewhere? So I think it's an interesting one. So let me ask one more question here from Jim. Is it possible your drug could help patients with blood cancers?
So Dr. Scott Kelly would answer those things, but what he told me before is we could have indication in AML and MDS, acute myeloid leukemia, and MDS, myelodysplastic syndrome, but those have not been verified. I mean, we believe CCR5 has a role in it, but we have not experimented with that yet.
Got it. Continuing on, there are a couple of questions here. One, I think that we probably may have already answered, but check this out. Please, so D. Brzezinski, please release the full patient set results, how to make a clear determination of the limited patient data and missing p-values. Has a much better reduction, so Aviptadil. When is the data coming out?
Absolutely. We're submitting to the publication, hopefully within 1 or 2 weeks or sooner than that. And then I want a 8K or executive summary. That's what I have asked our attorneys to work on. So as soon as they give us green light that yes, that's a wise thing to do right now, we will do it. But these results are, to me, fantastic. Many subpopulation that we did all show that Pro-140, Leronlimab, virologics now is better than placebo. And the percentage of saving lives was 25, 30, 35. Severe with the patients that I just tell you amongst 309 was like 30%. It's all very fantastic results.
Got it. I do have a question of my own that has been in the back of my mind. So let me put it out, and please don't mind, don't think it is a hard one. In 2-3 months, if this is going to, let's say, continue on for 2-3 months, in 2-3 months, I think vaccines will be quite prevalent. They would be openly available to everyone, and majority of the people would have received the vaccines or will be in line to get it. Where would Leronlimab stand then at that time?
That's an excellent question. So let's look at flu. There are about 60,000 patients still dying of flu. Is flu a big problem? It transmits easily and all that. So 60,000 are still dying. If the pandemic is over, God willing, soon, and the vaccine do fantastic job, you still got 5% of patients not going to work vaccine. You got patients who won't take vaccine. So this thing going to drag on. According to Moderna's CEO, this is going to be around forever in a smaller amount. So if there's going to be 10 or 20,000 or 30,000 or like flu 60,000 patients, God forbid, die from COVID-19 for the next 5 to 10 years, then we're going to be continuously selling the product and helping these patients by doing so. And in other countries, according to Philippines, they told me their vaccination will take 3 years till it's all done. The United States has done a fantastic job. They're going forward fast. But this product is going to be needing to be sold for this indication if we get approval, which I think we will, for many years to come. This is going to be part of our revenue for maybe another 5 years to 10 years.
Got it. The Hawk says, every trial we do, we learn a little bit more about how Leronlimab works. What was the biggest new learning from this trial? How does this impact how we are positioning with other trials or future pursuits?
So this was a big justification of that we are doing something, and in a randomized large trial, having this kind of fantastic result. Dr. Scott Kelly will definitely talk about this in a more detail of what we learned. But let me just tell you a few of the things that we learned that I can tell you now is this product does what we said. The cytokine storm has many components. One of the components is IL-6. IL-6 inhibitor, tocilizumab, or other products that you might look, do work in some amount. We believe we work on all the components of cytokine storm. IL-6, the CCL5 that we talk about so many times, that's a major role. But everybody should realize this is unbelievable. We said that we are immune modulator and we bind to CCR5 and therefore we can have effect. We just show effect, very, very strong effect, better than anybody in the world, I believe. Maybe there are a few other ones that are in that level, but that means this product is actually going to do what we said. Not only in COVID-19, I'm wishing to hopefully have the results for cancer and the other indication. HIV, we already proved our case. Patients have gone 6 years now without any treatment with Leronlimab. That's unbelievable. 6 years. Patients did not take anything but Leronlimab. Safety has been great. There is so much here that it just makes me feel very, very honored to be part of this program.
Got it. So her mic says once again, when are we likely to get the first approval to sell a product somewhere? I think what he is saying is anywhere in the world. Where is the most probable chance for you? What is the next country where you think that we are the closest to start putting Leronlimab out for COVID? I believe her is asking for COVID.
Yes. So there are countries that the regulations are a lot different also, and we have been reached out by some of those countries, and we are going to look at all of them now that we have the data. We just barely finished it on Friday. We're going to send this to all the agencies that we can and let them know that we will be wishing to sell this. Very, very importantly, which we will talk about at Monday afternoon conference call, is are we going to have enough product? And the CEO of Samsung immediately emailed me after he saw the results, congratulating us for the fantastic results, and Dr. Nitya Ray, and said that we will be making whatever product you want. We are behind you guys. And if we see the EUA comes in within the next few weeks, perhaps from some country, and maybe 2-3 months from United States, we will be making more deals with Samsung immediately for tremendous amount of product. But as I said, we're going to update everybody hopefully every week with a conference call or every other week.
Got it. So you have kind of partially already answered Susan Gray's question. There is just one part of it. What will the treatment cost? What do you think?
We will never charge the patients more than what other pharmaceuticals are charging, perhaps what the remdesivir is selling for or Regeneron is selling for. We will match those prices. And when we say we saved 6 days out of the ICU, Dr. Otto Yang told me that the cost in UCLA ICU is very high. At $25,000 per night, you save 6 days. That's $150,000 we save for that patient and for perhaps the insurance company. So we will not charge more than what everybody else is charging. That's for sure.
So Jack Alden says, Dr. P, to elaborate on your statement for 2 weeks ago where you said CytoDyn was in a confidential discussion with FDA and UK and Canada, is there a legal document in place with all parties like an NDA that makes these legally privileged?
The things that I'm talking about right now, he's talking about that?
So if you have confidential discussions going on with FDA, UK authorities and Canadian agencies, do you have NDAs with them? I'm hoping that you have your NDAs with them.
Absolutely. With every country, we sign. I mean, the legal team will do all of those. I just let them handle whatever it needs to be handled.
Got it. And I am moving over these questions because these are the ones that we've already talked. So there's a question here. What types of strategic communications can we expect in the coming weeks from CytoDyn, regulators, media, scientific community, and please provide as much detail on content and timing? So I don't think that you need to kind of go in a very big detail about that, but what kind of communications you are preparing for in the coming days?
Well, we're going to do the things that we did before. I will put interviews out as soon as we have something to talk about. And right now we got quite a bit of things to talk about. There's a lot of questions from our shareholders. We're going to answer those. But the media, they need to see if this is strong enough now for them to cover. I think Leronlimab people should pay a lot of attention to it. And we're going to do everything from our side to make that happen. And we've done what we have done in the past. In the last 3 years, just keep in mind the stock at 30 cents, 20 cents, with the publicity that we generated and with the truthful results that we continuously share with the public immediately, the stock went to where we traded almost $5 billion in the last 12 months. And before that, we continued doing very good since last year when we did the licensing deal. So it speaks for itself what we have done, thanks to God, and we're going to do a lot more and much better and much easier now.
So I think Ian's question is in a similar line. When are any news media segments coming on for Fox, etc.?
As soon as we hear, we just put the news out Friday. This is the weekend. I jumped on the opportunity to be in this show because I'm always honored to be at your show, Dr. Mobin, and tell people whatever we have. So if Fox News wants to do an interview, we'll do it right away and let everybody know. I think there will be publicity coming up.
Got it. Ian has one more question. To be clear, have we at the moment submitted a formal EUA application to any country?
We are in the process. That application is not a simple application, but it is expedited. We have signed all the documents with Emirates and it's being expedited. That's why I'm going to have a conference call hopefully every week, if not every other week, with the shareholders, letting them know where we are. We're going to hold everybody's feet to fire in our team. We're not going to let anybody just say, okay, let's do it tomorrow. It's going to happen today. Everything got to go expedited way. And I will not let a single second goes away before things just keep progressing.
Got it. Cool. So there's a few more questions here, actually quite a lot. I'm going to try that we answer a couple of more questions here and then we look at some live talks as well. So let's see. Michelle is saying, I don't know enough to ask any. Okay. So, but thank you so much for the generosity. So thank you for coming up. There is let me go back to where I was here. So MEIS says the FDA has recently updated its guidelines for the therapeutic trials recommending following patients for 60 days. Will CytoDyn be providing 45 or 60-day data to the FDA for CytoDyn 12 or CD12 RLF 100 modify their protocol after trial was completed to add 60-day endpoint? Can CytoDyn do the same? Would you be following the patients for 60 more days and providing that data?
We are following the patients right now in CD12 per protocol. I believe, don't please quote me, but I believe we are following. We have to follow for so many days. I don't know if it's 42 days or 60 days, but we will have more data from that. But what we want to do now is get that 140 patients enrolled if FDA agrees with 140 and the primary endpoint, and immediately get to work to sell this product and have revenue for the company and distribute this. So that happens in the shortest time if we just concentrate on that.
Got it. So we have a bunch of more questions here. Maybe we can meet once again later on as well. I want to take some questions from the live audience here as well, from Cool Beans. So let's see. Dale Trigger says, Janet Woodcock, FDA says P-value not needed for EUA. Good data and maybe effective and safe. Why do we need more data if we are reducing hospital stay with statistically significant data?
When FDA looks at the data, they say you have a primary endpoint. Show us what you did. We show them, and they saw that the results were perhaps some positive there. So they said you need more patients. Now, you can't tell FDA, okay, we hit the secondary endpoint. That was a secondary endpoint. So therefore, give us approval. We have to respect these rules and regulations. And I believe they're doing the right thing. I don't have any pushback because FDA expedited us to have this kind of trial. At the beginning, we were going to wait 120 days. They didn't let us They then make us wait after Dr. Sitam and Ju show positive results in EINDs. So to start saying FDA is this or that is a wrong thing to do. And I promise you, with all due respect to everybody, I think they're doing a fantastic job.
Got it. So one more question, and for the cool beans, I would then come back live as I do daily, and we'll do some chit chat, and then we'll break. I just want to give you update on myself as well, so I want to steal some time after that. So there is one more question that is here, and that is, Anycode and Anand says, Dr. Nader, can EUA be applied for severe patients?
Yes, absolutely. As I said, we believe that the severe population, I mean, the delta, relative delta is even a little bit bigger for the 309 patients that I talk and the 233 that took dexamethasone. So, but why go for the bigger population that might require another 400 patients to hit P-value? Go for the smallest one, get your approval, start saving life, God willing, and then severe, mild to moderate, everything else, if we want to try, we can, but let's get the first approval. That's what we want, and we will be successful.
I had promised that was my last question, but I think cool beans now know that I continue to look up. So a couple of more questions are here. One is from Andy. Dr. Bean, is CytoDyn working with Dr. Patterson and IncelDX in their long hauler study? So they are working on some long hauler lab and figuring out how to manage that.
Well, I wish him the best luck, but we know we absolutely have no more work with Dr. Bruce Patterson.
Okay. RB long hauler, for the long hauler trials that start next week, it sounds like with successful results, there will be expanded additional trials. Will they happen immediately after? Are there going to be additional trials needed? And if so, are you planning them?
No, the long hauler, we are needing to prove that we have something for long hauler. Long hauler is new, and even FDA doesn't have a guideline out there for long hauler. So it was a very difficult thing to set the endpoints and understand those. So they were kind enough to let us do the 50-patient study. Let's see how the results are. Let's talk after that. Let's talk about C12 results right now, because this is the most fantastic thing for me. I can't sleep at night, and I'm really can't. It's so exciting.
So one more question, and then we'll break for sure. So
Sure.
This question is also by Ian. Ian says, Dr. Bean, how about government funding Operation Warp Speed, BARDA funding CytoDyn for Leronlimab?
Yeah, the fundings will flow in from every direction once we have the first EUA, and if not, we will fund the company like we always have. We have, I'm comfortable with the cash on hand, and we go forward. But the Operation Warp Speed, we will talk to them also. But we had talked to them, and they had told us, get an EUA, get commitment, and let's talk. So we will.
Excellent. So Dr. Pourhassan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. And Cool Beans, thank you very much as well. So as usual nowadays, as we're doing, I will hang up this call, and then I would go back and I'll start one more live session, and we'll do a chit chat. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, and share, and I would see you shortly. Dr. Pourhassan, once again, thank you very much.
I appreciate it for having me. Thank you, Dr. Modi.